Hi, first grade friends. Today we are going to read a story called Me First by Helen Lester. And as we are reading, we are going to be thinking about how the main character changes throughout the story. Now, I know that you are all experts at identifying character traits now. Remember how a character thinks or acts or looks in a story? And all that we've learned about character traits is going to help us think about how a character changes in a story from the beginning to the end. And before we read, we're going to take a look at this anchor chart that's titled Characters Change. Now, there's different ways that characters can change in a book from the beginning to the end. They can change how they feel about something. They can even change who they are, like Batman. They can change their age if they grow up throughout the story. They can change the way they look. They can learn new things. And their opinion can sometimes change in a story. Also, a character change, like Mrs. Filarecki said, from the beginning to the end. In the beginning, you get to know who that main character is and how they think or act, and you get to identify those character traits. Sometimes you get to see what their strengths are and what they're really good at, and what their weaknesses are or what challenges them. And then usually in the middle, there are a bunch of little events that happen that help change or shape how a character thinks and acts. And then by the end, the character changes by showing some sort of growth. And like we had said, they might change their opinion or the way they look or the way that they feel about something. So today when we are reading, we are going to be paying special attention to how the main character in our story changes from the beginning to the end. All right, let's read Me First by Helen Lester, illustrated by Lynn Munsinger. Pinkerton was pink, plump, and pushy. He would do anything to be first, even if it meant bouncing off bellies, stepping on snouts, or tying tails. We already know a lot about Pinkerton already. We know how he looks. He's pink and plump. Another word for plump is fat. And then he's pushy. When you're pushy, you really get others to try and do what you're doing, even if they don't want to. Let's see if he changes. Me first, he cried when he had been last in line and finished first down the slide. Me first, he cried at story time, settling on his round bottom with his big head right smack in front of the book. And every day in the school trough, a Taria, Me First rang out, and there was Pinkerton. One Saturday, Pinkerton's Pig Scout troop went on a day trip to the beach. Pinkerton was first on the bus and sat in the front row. He was first off the bus, first in the water, first out of the water, and first into the picnic basket. After lunch, the Pig Scouts decided to go for a hike. Off they went, with Pinkerton leading the line, of course. As the Pig Scouts marched across the sand, they heard a faint voice far in the distance. The voice called out, "Who would care for a sandwich?" Pinkerton pricked up his pointy ears. Care for a sandwich? Oh, yes, me first, he thought, and he began to trot ahead of the others. Soon he heard the voice again, closer and louder this time. "Who would care for a sandwich?" "Me first," cried cried Pinkerton, kicking up sand and leaving the other pig scouts far behind. His imagination almost burst. Let's read on to see what he was imagining. Look at that thinking bubble. Whoa, that's a big sandwich. So his imagination almost burst. Peanut butter, jelly, 2 tomatoes, 7 pickles, a slab of cheese, a blob of mayo, a big smear of mustard. All for me, first. Who would care for a sandwich? Now, at a full gallop, Pinkerton shrieked, "Me first!" Over a sandy hill he flew, and kerplop! He landed face to face with a small creature with a bump on her nose and fur on her toes. "Am I glad to see you?" she cackled. "I sure could hear you coming. Me first, me first, me first. I guess you really would care for a sandwich." "Oh, yes, indeed," replied Pinkerton. He jumped up and down so fast his teeth jiggled. "Good," she cackled, the small creature. Pinkerton waited. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. "Well?" he asked. "Well, what?" replied the small creature. "The sandwich," begged Pinkerton. "Where's the sandwich?" The small creature curtsied. She bowed. She did a little bow. "You're looking at her," she went on. "I am a sand witch." Ha, do you get it? Sand and a witch who is in the sand. So not a real sandwich that you would eat. She said, "I am a sandwich and I live in the sand. And you said you would care for a sandwich. So here I am. Care for me." All Pinkerton could say was, "But I..." Taking no notice, the sand witch continued. "You said me first. You wanted to be the first to take care of me. Well, congratulations. Now just come along to my sand castle." Grabbing Pinkerton firmly by the sleeve, she led him around a few bends. Before he could say, "But I," again, the gate to her castle closed. "All right, my pink, plump, and pushy one. Now you care for me. You may have the honor of being the first to powder my nose and comb my toes." Seeing no way out, Pinkerton powdered her nose and combed her toes. "Next," she crowed, "you may be the first to put my supper in a bucket and feed me with a shovel." Pinkerton looked around. He had no choice. He put her supper in a bucket and fed her with a shovel. Rubbing her tummy, the sandwich spoke on. "Finally, after you've had the privilege of being the first to wash my dishes and sweep my castle and do my laundry and curl my hair and tuck me in, you may be the first to tell me a bedtime story." Pinkerton washed the dishes. I wonder, let's stop and think about what's changed so far in the story. Take a minute to think. Maybe you're thinking about how he's feeling. Maybe you're thinking about what he's doing. And he swept the castle, did the laundry, curled the sandwich's hair, and tucked her in. The sandwich stretched and yawned loudly. Now the story. I need my story." Pinkerton was so tired he could barely speak. "I don't know any stories," he whimpered. "Then how about making up something?" "Oh, how about something concerning a pushy pig who always wanted to be first?" Pinkerton sighed and began. "Once upon a time, there lived a pig who always wanted to be first, until one day he met a wise sandwich." "Wise and beautiful," cut in the sandwich. "A wise and beautiful sandwich who showed him that first was not always best." Let me read that again. First was not always best. I wonder how Pinkerton is thinking now. Aha! Cackled the sandwich. She gave Pinkerton a slow, serious, and meaningful wink. Have you learned something? Oh, yes, 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 said Pinkerton. I promise I have. In that case, thanks for the care. Goodbye and good luck. She opened the gate and Pinkerton sped off so fast he didn't even notice the delicious sandwich she held out to him. He was just in time to catch the bus. On he scooted, pink, plump, and glad to be last. The end. So, boys and girls, think back to how Pinkerton acted and felt in the beginning of the story, and then the things in the middle of the story that might have changed how he was thinking and acting. And then what he was doing at the end of the story that was different from the beginning. And what you can do is you can talk aloud to a family member at home about what you noticed that was different from the beginning to the end of the story. This is also sheet is also linked to our weekly schedule. So if you want to print it out and write, you can, but you don't have to. A conversation, talking with somebody else is a great way to think about your reading. And it says right here, first my character was, and you can use a character trait describing word and then tell how you know this. Support your reason by finding evidence or something that showed you that that's how your character was in the story. And then how your character was next, and then where in the story and how you know this, what happened in the story. You can write it in there or talk about it. And then how was your character different? So our book title would be Me First. And the main character, who the story was mostly about, is Pinkerton. So you would write Pinkerton right here if you decided to print this out. And then you can go ahead and fill this in or talk about it. And if you do decide to fill it in, you could always snap a picture and send it to your teacher. I had an awesome time reading with you today about how characters change in a story from the beginning to the end. Bye, first graders.